Greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about riding the wave. Now, for the last month or so, I've been coming at y'all pretty hard with stories about labor and labor strikes. And there's a multitude of reasons for that, not the least of which is that I couldn't continue doing day after day after day of coverage of police violence and racism. It was literally dragging me down. I was blackpilling myself and slowly entering into oblivion. And at that point, I would really be of no use to anybody. However, the larger thing that has precipitated this coverage lately has been that this particular string of strikes is different from any other string of strikes in the history of the United States. And that is because for the first time since capitalism has had people running full speed on the treadmill 24/7, the working class finally got a moment to stop and take a breath. The pandemic-related shutdowns allowed tens of millions of people who have been running at breakneck speed on a treadmill just to break even a moment to breathe, to relax, to look around, to think about things other than what's going on 2 feet in front of their face. Because when you are at the margin, you do not have the convenience of looking around at these larger macro issues. You are solely focused on making sure there is food for the day. There is a roof over the head until the end of the month. These are the primary concerns of the working class. And because people got a moment to look around and breathe and watch the news and see the government just literally print trillions of dollars and just blow it into the air, well, people got the idea that it was quite possible that they were getting underpaid and that money is fake. So now we have a whole string of stories about people realizing their labor is worth more. And so rather than asking like they have been doing for the last few decades, they are now demanding. And so I am going to end my month of coverage of labor the way it started. Buckle up, kids, because we got another one. Here we go! At midnight last night, the UAW International authorized a full strike. Now, a few weeks back, when I was rattling off all the strikes going on that we were both covering and all the other ones you probably hadn't heard about, I told you there was one more big one on the horizon that looked like it was going to come to pass. And lo and behold, just as predicted, the capitalists have once again dragged ass, waited until the final hour, and let the strike happen because they are down to play a game of chicken with the lives and the livelihood of the working class. John Deere workers go on strike after rejecting contract. For those of you who are not aware, John Deere and Caterpillar make about 90% of the large machinery that drives factory farming, construction, and all sorts of projects that you can't do with a dozen people and a handful of shovels. They are also a large benchmark company, and they are international, but based here. More than 10,000 Deere and Company workers went on strike, the first major walkout at the agricultural machinery giant in more than 3 decades. The union had said its members would walk off the job if no deal had been reached by 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday. The vast majority of the union rejected a contract offer earlier this week that would have delivered 5% raises to some workers and 6% raises to others at the Illinois company known for its green tractors. Quote, the almost 1 million UAW retirees and active members stand in solidarity with the striking UAW members at John Deere. Now, for them to turn down 6% right out of the gate and then go on strike for the first time in almost 40 years, it means that A, conditions are bad, and B, that union, those union reps and that business have been way too chummy and negotiations have been far too mild for decades. And now there has to be such a large imbalance at John Deere that those union people looked around at everything else that was going on around them in the current state of organized labor and decided that they weren't going to take any more bullshit. Brad Morris, Vice President of Labor Relations for John Deere, said in a statement that the company is, quote, committed to a favorable outcome for our employees, our communities, and everyone involved. He said Deere wants an agreement that would improve the economic position of all employees. Quote, we will keep working day and night to understand our employees' priorities and resolve this strike, while also keeping our operations running for the benefit of all those we serve. Now, allow me to translate corporate bullshit into reality for you. The last part, while keeping our operations running for the benefit of all those we serve, that means they have already planned for the strike and have a scab labor force ready to come in and, I don't know, try to build 30-ton tractors. This should be good. Also, working day and night to understand their employees' priorities means they've been purposely not listening to their employees for the last year in labor negotiations leading up to this strike. In other words, like all of the other strikes we have covered this month, they were running on a skeleton crew. They opted to not hire more people because there's overhead in onboarding additional labor and decided to work bare bones, drive everybody into the ground, and do it as long as possible to maximize their profitability for as long as possible. I feel like I have said this sentence more than half a dozen times now in the last month. Whoa. Our members at John Deere strike for the ability to earn a decent living, retire with dignity, and establish fair work rules. We stay committed to bargaining until our members' goals are achieved. Chris Larson, who works as a painter at John Deere, told the Des Moines Register before the strike that it could make a significant difference. Quote, the whole nation's going to be watching us. Larson said to the newspaper, if we take a stand here for ourselves, our families, for basic human prosperity, it's going to make a difference for the whole manufacturing industry. Let's do it. Let's not be intimidated. Earlier this year, another group of UAW-represented workers went on strike at Volvo Trucks plant in Virginia and wound up with better pay and lower-cost health benefits after rejecting not one, not two, but 3 contract offers. And this is what momentum looks like. This is what riding the wave looks like. This is what class awareness and class solidarity looks like. And again, these things have been sorely lacking in this country for a long time. And it is not accidental. It is on purpose. It's why we don't have May Day here in the United States of America. We have prepackaged U.S. government Labor Day, which still somehow invokes Veterans and Memorial Day, even though Labor Day is solely supposed to be a different thing. Well, yeah, it's called May Day. If you have no idea what May Day is, congratulations, you've just proved my point. And now proving my point that fellow members of the working class have gotten a chance to, step off the treadmill and breathe and look around and use Google, well, hey, now people on the old Tweeter app are pointing out that last year, John Deere paid net zero in federal taxes, while their top 6 ranking executives earned nearly $48 million combined. These are good things to know when you're trying to explain to everybody that 10,000 highly skilled laborers across 14 plants in 6 states all walked off their fucking job. And remember when I told you that John Deere has known this was coming and they already had scabs planned? Yeah? Well, let me show you what the scabs look like. This is a Twitter thread of a conversation with a salaried worker at John Deere. Quote, the John Deere strike breakers are currently 650 salaried employees pulled from engineering and management positions across the corporation. Note, I say strike breakers because I can guarantee that with our lack of skill in numbers, we will not be breaking the strike. Yes, this is a salaried employee at John Deere letting a labor journalist know that rather than hiring external scrubs, John Deere has been planning this and has been training members of their middle management so that when the strike did happen, because they knew they were going to offer far less than the union was willing to accept, that these people are again somehow going to go and build like 30-ton tractors. Seriously, Ted from accounting is going to be doing fucking welding on a production line like next week. John Deere spent an enormous amount of time, money, and effort trying to get us all trained, but not many of us are really ready for this. We'll be working 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, with day and night shifts. Oh yeah, you mean like all the other hourly employees had to do until they finally fucking snapped and went on strike. Hey, welcome to the party, John Deere salary dude. In my position, I'm not looking forward to this. I think the wage employees deserve a lot more than what they were offered, and I absolutely support them striking. I feel like I'm betraying some of my values by crossing the picket line, but it has been all but said that not crossing the picket line means getting fired if you're a salaried employee. If, God forbid, this strike goes on long enough for the next build cycle of combines, which is to start November 1st or November 15th, it will be a horror show. All the skilled welders, machinists, and assemblers who normally make these $500,000 machines will be gone. Now, of course, if John Deere took all the money they spent retraining their middle management to not actually be able to build $500,000 machines, if they had taken that, combined that with their initial offer, they probably could have made a better offer and maybe avoided all this. But they didn't want to avoid this. They dragged it out, and then they planned for this so they could drag it out even more. They want to play a game of chicken with the lives of their employees. So don't believe the hype when they put out press releases that say they really care and they're trying to listen and figure out the needs of their employees who have already told you what they need is more money, better retirement, and better benefits, but you're not listening to them, and yet you want everybody to believe you're listening to them because you put out a press release about it. Cool, okay. Hey, let me show you another John Deere press release. This is the press release that shows in the third quarter alone of 2021, John Deere made a net income of $1.667 billion, running a 19% profit margin. And their full-year earnings forecast has now been raised to $5.9 billion of total earnings. Yeah, how about that press release, John Deere? And you know why your earnings were so high? Do you know why your profitability was at 19%? Because you chose to pay the fewest amount of workers, the least amount of money possible for the longest amount of time possible so you could maximize profitability for as long as possible. And now that the contract is over, it looks like your strikers, your union members, your laborers, all those working class people have just one message for you, and it is, fuck you, pay me. So what does this mean for you, the average viewer at home, the fellow member of the working class? Well, it means that shit is working. It means that if you put up enough small W's in a row, you start to put up big W's. And more importantly, it means that for the first time in decades, workers and laborers across the United States of America have started to regain a schmeckle of class awareness, and it's leading to more class solidarity, and it is leading to laborers coming together and demanding better because they realize they deserve better. Now, final point before I go. There is also one other reason that all of this is happening. And it's not just because of COVID and the shutdown and because the working class got a moment to breathe. And yeah, sorry, I know I'm going to piss some of y'all off with this one, but it needs to be said. The larger motivating factor in all of this is because when people got a chance to look around and see what was going on, they realized that people in Washington, D.C. do not give a fuck about them. For decades, workers, laborers, all of us, we've all been told by our elected representatives, officials, and leaders, both on Team Red and Team Blue, that they're working really hard and doing everything they can to make conditions better for us, to make sure that people aren't living so close to the margin, to make sure that the working class and the middle class prospers in America. And after decades of that bullshit and nothing getting done, people have finally thrown their hands in the air and turned their backs on people and parties and machines and mechanisms and systems that turned their backs on them long ago. So, wealthy shitbird capitalists and the financiers of all of these large corporations, yeah, glad you're all having to eat it right now at the moment. You deserve this. But all y'all in Washington, oh, you better be paying attention, because this isn't just workers lashing out against their bosses. This is people and citizens of the United States of America taking power into their own hands because they know the people who do have power aren't going to do jack shit for them. So everybody out there who's pushing the needle, thank you very much. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet, and I am out. Peace.